Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today we will be discussing about China's concerns on Quad. We know that Quad is a multilateral grouping and this grouping is among 4 countries: Japan, Australia, India and United States of America. So these 4 countries are the members of this multilateral grouping called Quad. So we will be discussing about what are the concerns raised by China in this grouping Quad. So let us first see what is the current affair. Let us come to the current affair. So in a recent speech, the United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, he made a statement. He said that Quad would ensure that China retains only its proper place in the world. So what does it mean? What does this statement mean? So the US Secretary of State made the statement that China will retain only its proper place in the world. It clearly means that China will not be allowed to take an undue advantage. So this is what he meant. So in this context, let us understand what are the concerns of China in this grouping called Quad. Let us first see what is Quad. What is this multilateral grouping? So Quad is a multilateral grouping among 4 countries. The first country in this grouping is Japan. Second one is Australia. Third one is India. And the fourth one is United States. So these 4 countries are the members of Quad. So it is a multilateral grouping of 4 countries. And the Quad convened recently at the level of senior officials on the margins of East Asia Summit, which was held in Bangkok, in Thailand. So on the sidelines of East Asia Summit, which was held in Bangkok, the Quad convened recently at the level of senior officials. And what is to be understood is that these 4 member countries of Quad, differences between these 4 member countries have narrowed down in the last 2 years. So the 4 member countries, they have narrowed down their differences on opinions in the last 2 years. And there are common references to the creation of free, open and inclusive regional architecture, rules of road, freedom of navigation and overflight, and ASEAN centrality. So these are certain objectives of Quad, and general the Quad objective is to ensure a free and open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. So this is the grouping Quad. Now let us come to the China's views on Quad. Let us see what are China's views. So there is a general understanding that Quad would not take on a military dimension against any country. The strategic community in China had branded Quad as an emerging Asian NATO. So China has mentioned or has branded Quad as an Asian NATO, that is a NATO in the Asian region. And also the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has mentioned that Quad is a confluence of 2 seas. Which are the 2 seas? The first one is Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So he has mentioned Quad as a confluence of 2 seas. And the PM of Japan, the Japanese PM Shinzo Abe, had recently spoken of a new definition of a broader Asia. So his new concept was that of a broader Asia concept. And a broader Asia is taking shape at the confluence of Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. This is what Japanese Prime Minister had mentioned. So this recognized the economic rise of India. So this statement has given a due importance to the economic rise of India. And it also brought Japan plus India, that is Japan and India together as a part of an immense network spanning the entire Pacific Ocean, the US and the Australia. And Quad is also seen as an open network and also a transparent network that will allow people, goods, capital and knowledge to flow freely. So this is compared as a very transparent and also a very open network that will ensure the free flow of people, that is human capital, where India has got a much larger interest. Second one of goods, that is the trade, of capital, that is investments, and knowledge sharing. So this is how Quad is viewed. Now let us see what are the key concerns of China. What are the concerns of China in this regard? The first concern is regarding maritime-centric concerns. China is viewing Quad as involving the use of a wider Indo-Pacific theatre to target China. So China thinks that Quad is targeting on China. So in this regard, China believes that the concept of Indo-Pacific, that is what Quad says. So Quad upholds the concept of Indo-Pacific. So it believes that the concept of Indo-Pacific, and more particularly the concept of Quad, it is a plot that is established by the United States that is aimed at containing the rise of China. So China believes that Quad is a platform that is set up by the United States in order to contain the rise of China in this region. Now, secondly, China also views Quad as a opposition to the BRI, that is the Belt and Road Initiative of China. We know that the Belt and Road Initiative is an ambitious project of China. So, China views the Quad as an opposition to the Belt and Road Initiative of China, questioning its developmental finance and connectivity projects. So, through the Belt and Road Initiative, two things are important. One, China is trying to establish connectivity. It is establishing connectivity projects. Second one, it is providing development finance to smaller countries to make infrastructural facilities. So China is giving finance for building infrastructure in smaller countries. So China in particularly believes that Quad is questioning two things of Belt and Roads Initiative, that is the connectivity projects and the development finance given by China to other smaller countries. So this is the second concern for China. Now the third concern for China is that China views Quad as a foundation for a military alliance. We have seen that as of now, Quad does not talk anything about a military alliance. It is just concerned with people, knowledge, capital and goods. So these are the four components. So free flow of trade, that is goods, capital, that is investments, third one people, human resource and knowledge sharing. These are the four broad areas where Quad has an interest as of now. It does not have an interest on any military alliances. So China views Quad as a foundation for establishing a military alliance between these four powerful countries. Now if you look at four countries who are partners of Quad, one is US, second one is Australia, third one is Japan and the fourth one is India. Now, India has joint military exercises with all of these countries separately, but four of these countries together as an initiative of Quad, there is no such military alliance. But China is concerned whether Quad will come up with a military alliance in the future. So Quad can be a foundation for a military alliance between four of these powerful countries. Now India is the fourth largest country in terms of spending for its defense expenditure. So all other three countries, the first country is US, second one is China, the third one is Saudi Arabia and the fourth one is India. So these are the four topmost countries whose the military expenditure is the highest. So US, Japan, Australia and India, their partnership could make up a very strategic military partnership, military alliance. So this is what China is scared about. So this military alliance or such a military alliance in the future can undermine China. So this is the third concern. Now the fourth concern, China remains wedded to the idea of Asia Pacific. So China carries the idea of Asia Pacific in order to build an inclusive regional cooperation or cooperative structure. So the idea of China is a Asia Pacific partnership, whereas the idea of Quad is Indo-Pacific. So for China, a switch to Indo-Pacific implies an erosion of its preeminence. So in this background or in this backdrop, China sees ASEAN centrality, the ASEAN countries, the centrality as an opportunity to steer the Indo-Pacific away from a security agenda focused on China. So these are the concerns of China. Now moving on, let us see what are the plans of China in this regard. The first one, obviously it is a BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. It is an ambitious project of China. So China's State Councillor and Foreign Minister has come up with a 5-point agenda or a 5-point formula. So let us see what is this 5-point formula. The first one is putting greater efforts to work together on the Belt and Road Initiative. So primary focus would be on Belt and Road Initiative. Second one is forging China-ASEAN digital cooperation. So this will include 5G cooperation as well. So second focus would be on China-ASEAN digital cooperation. The cooperation of China with that of ASEAN countries in terms of digital cooperation. Third one is fully implementing the China-ASEAN FTA. We know that the ASEAN countries have signed an FTA with 6 countries. So there are 6 FTA countries for the ASEAN. So the first 3 is the China, Japan and South Korea. The other 3 countries are India, Australia and New Zealand. So these 6 countries are the FTA partners, the free trade agreement partners of ASEAN. And ASEAN plus the 6 FTA partners are the member countries of RCEP. And recently India has rejected an RCEP proposal. That is also very important. I would soon be coming up with a lecture on that also. So ASEAN has signed free trade agreements with 6 countries and China is one among them. So China has decided to fully implement the free trade agreement with that of the ASEAN countries. So this shows that China's interest is to establish better trade relations, better strategic relations and partnership with that of ASEAN countries. Now the fourth one is on engaging in joint maritime exercises with that of ASEAN countries. So the central interest of China is in ASEAN countries. That is very clear from the 5-point formula of China's foreign policy of the China's the plans of Chinese economy in the future. So the China, even though they are already undertaking various military alliances, military exercises with the ASEAN countries, the foreign minister in China has said that it will be focusing more on establishing more of such kind of maritime exercises with that of ASEAN countries. So these are the plans of China. Also, China has signed bilateral agreements with ASEAN countries in order to advance transportation routes. So this bilateral agreements with that of ASEAN countries for advancement of transportation routes, it includes the existing economic corridors, the China-Thailand Railway, the China-Laos Railway, the Jakarta is in Indonesia, the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway, etc. So China has decided to advance these transportation routes as well. Now let us see what is the position of India. Where does India stand in this? So India's commitment is strategic autonomy. So India is committed towards a strategic autonomy. What does it mean? It means that India will never fully agree or fully align itself with US against China. So India will maintain its autonomy, its strategic autonomy, and by no way India will fully agree or fully align itself with the United States against China. So this is the stand of India. And the recent Mamallapuram summit, that was the informal summit between 2 heads of the countries, the Chinese President Xi Jinping and the Prime Minister Modi of India, is a very positive development towards this. So it is a evidence that India is never against China in order to fully align with the United States. So any issue with the US and the China, it is not going to impact the strategic relationship of India with that of China. So this is India's stand, but at the same time, China is worried about the advantages the Quad process, the Quad grouping might offer to India in the Indo-Pacific. So definitely Quad is going to offer certain advantages for India in the Indo-Pacific, and China is definitely worried about these advantages. So this is the stand of India, and a very very important topic for UPSC examination. This can be asked in your UPSC Mains paper 2, GS paper 2 in your international relationships. So Quad is also important from your prelims perspective, the grouping, the members, etc. very very important. Also for other examinations as well, international groupings, multilateral groupings are very very important. You can find the PDF of this lecture on our website www.studyiq.com. You can follow my Facebook page for more video updates. You can write to me at joyce.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries and clarification. Thank you.